the subject of eating fruit. You may eat of everything in the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat. Remember, I talked about being rebellious. So you are going to eat it, because God knows that when you eat it, you will be like Him, as gods, knowing good and evil, and then you'll be able to choose. So until you've got that knowledge, you won't know what good and evil is. And it's about where the energy goes. It should go here, to Israel, to illuminate Jerusalem, the pineal, as opposed to staying in Sodom and Gomorrah, where the serpent is coiled up, that mortal coil. It's written that you can tell them by their fruits. God said in the Old Testament that you should eat the fruit that bears seed-bearing fruit. So the seed of life, the seed coming from the brain, the sacred secretion, to experience being alive, which is the experience of I am. But as above, so below, as within, so without. Have you tried finding grapes nowadays with seeds in? Chance of finding a unicorn. So what are the fruits of that labour? Well, it's knowledge of good and evil. It's wisdom. And if you're listening to people, then you should be checking their fruits. What fruits do they bring? In other words, what wisdom do they share? What wisdom do they have on display? What wisdom are they giving away in the form of pearls? What's this fucking idiot doing? Moron. He's got to get to work. Oh, gotta get to work. Twat. Slow down. Everyone's rushing backwards and forwards. It talks about that in the Book of Enoch. So what wisdom are they bringing? Whether you like the character of that individual is of no consequence whatsoever. And until you have this wisdom experience within, you are receiving nothing more than scraps that fall from the table. And who's happy with scraps from the table? Nobody should be. So then you would earnestly seek within. Seek out your narrow path that few find, so that you too can consume the forbidden fruit. Do you see what religion's done? And then Eve ate the forbidden fruit, and she poisoned Adam and Eve, she's responsible for the original sin and they both fell from grace. No, they didn't. Fucking morons. Programmed by religious dogma. It's funny because the word dogma backwards is am God. Look. So they've been confounded by their own brain, their own inability to understand simple scripture. Because after Adam and Eve had partaken of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, God was looking for them in the garden. It's all symbolic. These people didn't exist. And to assert that they did is just an absolute absurdity. You may as well just cling to the belief of Santa Claus. And even Humpty Dumpty was real. But when you look at the symbolism of the story, God releases them, from the Garden of Eden. But he clothes them. What does clothing do? It offers you protection and warmth. So he clothed them. Because they'd attempted to clothe themselves. The fig leaves. Remember the fig? Jesus cursed the fig tree because there was no fruit, no wisdom, no knowledge of good and evil. Now, I don't expect any of you to put all this together. But that's what the secretion does. That's what happens when you're lit. Now, I'm not talking about being lit as in stoned. I'm talking as in being lit by something else entirely. So, get in that garden. Get on that narrow path. It's difficult. Few find it. Why is it difficult? Well, you're finding out. You're already experiencing it. Your mind gets in the way. But don't be critical of the mind. It's just a program that's lost its way. Learn to accept its foibles. It's a younger brother. Look after it. And why do few find it? Nobody's looking. Seek earnestly and you will find. So be serious about it. Stop dilly-dallying. Fucking lukewarm. Fence sitters. And reclaim your birthright to be born again. But to be born again, you've got to die. Ego death. Adam and Eve. Adam, the intellect. Eve, the subconscious. In the garden, naked. Everything they believed in was dung. And there was nothing there anymore. They were naked. And God said, "Who said you're naked?" Do you see? Do you see how profoundly simple this is? But only when it's pointed out to you. So there's nothing to fear. Why would you fear your own brain? Why would you fear your own brain? That would be insane.